Can get started. It's a minute over. So lovely to see all of you on one of my most favorite topics in the world, I think. So just thank you all for joining. My name is Namita Datta. This is a super informal meeting. My name is Namita Datta, and I'm, because this is a mixed World Bank, IFC, and partners group. Just to introduce myself, my name is Namita Datta. I'm program head of a global program called Solutions for Youth Employment, based here at the World Bank. And the reason we are here today is because we all care about the creative economy. And we particularly want to explore how to grow this economy, the creative side, but also particularly grow it from the economic development point of view, and also as a sector that could potentially offer very interesting economic opportunities for young people, for women, new types of jobs, new means of livelihood, but also more than that, just a means of expression as well, right, for young people. So I think we all care about this economy. A couple of years ago, we in S4Y, it's a large global program, brings together a large number of partners that care about the youth employment agenda. We have several private companies, NGOs, international NGOs, donors, foundations that come together, and young people themselves, and several World Bank operations that are part of this network. And a lot of the work we do, sometimes we pick themes and sectors where particularly there's an interest on youth employment, and this was one of them. So a couple of years ago, we published a short kind of a discussion note on how we could look at the creative economy as an interesting sector for young people, and particularly for jobs, and how it could also lead to spillover effects in the economy, maybe through tourism, promotion of cultural heritage, for example. And then when we published this, we were actually quite surprised, because at that point in time, the World Bank Group in itself was not very active on this topic. I mean, there were little pieces of work. And at that time, IFC also had not launched its big initiative on the creative economy. So this was early days. And then the response that we got made us feel like, okay, there is a group of really like-minded people, organizations, so why don't we come together? So long story short, so last year we came together with our partners in S4Y, the GIZ, who were also active on this agenda. So we came together and we had a kickoff meeting to which we were surprised 150 people showed up from different organizations. And it was such a fantastic, energizing meeting where a number of you, and several of you were in that meeting, said that, yes, let's come together, let's keep this informal, let's keep this as a place we all share what we are doing, and out of that organically might emerge some very concrete collaboration opportunities. So that was how we got started. And then one of the things that the group felt was that, okay, let's create a knowledge repository, and my colleagues will talk a little bit more about like how it's been unfolding. So let me just stop here and hand it over to Sabine, because Sabine heads the team in the GIZ that's been actively partnering with us. So maybe over to you, Sabine, and then the team can share just a quick update with all of you on where we are. And then we hope in the end to sort of brainstorm a little bit together in terms of what this 2024 work program could look like. So over to you, Sabine.
Thank you very much, Namita. My name is Sabine Becker, and I'm heading a project on culture and creative industry in GIZ on behalf of our ministry. And we started in 2018. We were lucky to have Goethe Institute as our partner, so that we had a bit of technical know-how already. And we also worked from the beginning with a focus on employment and economic development, private sector development. And we had the chance to intervene, to cooperate in 6 countries. So Senegal, South Africa, Kenya, and then Jordan, Lebanon, and Iraq. and worked with partners there in different subsectors of the creative economy. And I do remember how difficult it was at the beginning to come up with now which definition do we use? What is the most useful in the context of our partner countries? And then do we have any data sources? Like which ones do we use? Which statistics would help? And then another question coming from the private sector side was, how do the value chains in the culture and creative industry look like? And music being very different from fashion. So how do we try to analyze the different value chains to then be able to say, where does it make sense to intervene? Or which level of partner benefit most? So then what we already have, thanks to you, colleagues in Solutions for Youth Employment in the knowledge repository now, is these helpful reports like from UNCTAD, the Creative Economy Outlook, or the work of UNESCO on also, what to do in crisis times, like during COVID, when you are in a sector where you depend on people who meet for listening to your music. So all this kind of information is fortunately there now. It was not there, I think, 4 years ago, or not to this extent. And so all that helped us very much to really develop approaches that were useful, be it in the field of skills development in all the different subsectors, or in the field of access to finance, crowdfunding, but also, how to expand markets. And there was some interesting cooperation also with International Trade Center, C-Trades. And then also, what's the role of hubs, festivals, networks to make things known and help individual artists to show their work. And maybe last but not least, my colleagues, Alison especially, they were also very much into developing suitable monitoring systems, which is also not an easy thing to do. So I think it's great to have all this knowledge now available and increasingly available at your platform. And personally, I think it would be great to continue with this alliance in terms of, cooperating in partner countries, in maybe even beyond knowledge management and exchanging good practice. So with that, I'm very much looking forward to our get together today and to all your inputs and contributions. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Sabine. Thank you, Namita. Just a technical check. Can you see the presentation to the team? Yes, perfect. Namita, I believe we will start with you then, because we had the agenda for today, where we will have some introduction and welcome remarks, which we already had just now. And then we will have a review of the highlights and the partnership from last year, followed by presentations by 4 partners of the Creative Economy Alliance before we will delve into the last discussion part of today's meeting. And before we start, Namita, and before I'm handing over to you, let me introduce Jamie from Solutions for Youth Employment, because both of us, we will lead you through today's meeting as we are the co-leads for the Creative Economy Alliance in our respective projects. So Jamie, handing over to you.
Thank you, Alison. I think we already did, I think Namita did mainly the introduction already, right? So maybe we can skip the first.
Yes.
Namita, would you like to?
No, please go ahead. Please go ahead. I think I already said that.
Yes, precisely.
Okay, wonderful. Then again, warm welcome from my side. Just letting you know that we're recording the meeting. If you don't want to appear on screen, feel free to use the chat and ask all of your questions there. We'll have an eye on the chat. And without further ado, let's start with the review of last year's activities to bring everyone on board for today. So this is a very rough timeline from last year, and you see lots of things were happening throughout the different months, and I will present some of the highlights that were already mentioned as well in the introductory remarks. So one of the highlights were, after having first meetings with different partners, we identified a need to all come together and discuss different topics with regards to employment promotion and diversity in the culture and creative industries. And we had a kickoff meeting in May with more than 100 participants. Many of you were there. We were joined by different partner organizations, and we found there was a strong interest to work together on an international level to identify synergies and to advocate for the sector together. And one of the results from this meeting was that we found we need a space to share our knowledge beyond these meetings. So one of the first things we did was we worked on a knowledge repository. For everyone who doesn't know what this is, it's an online resource where we have at the moment more than almost 100 different articles, research papers, learnings, good practices from more than 25 partners of the Creative Economy Alliance on various topics. I will very briefly share how it looks. So this is the knowledge repository. If you're interested in a particular topic or submissions from a particular partner, you can select different filters here and have a look at the submissions. So it's a very great resource that came from the first meeting that we had, and was implemented then or released in September. Another highlight was that we had a webinar series which focused on IP rights and the use of NFTs, where we invited different artists, institutes, and policy makers to discuss the use of IP rights and NFTs in the creative economy. This was followed also by 3 webinars exploring how Web3 is used in the creative economy, how policy can support Web3 use in the creative economy, and what the implications are of this technology with regards to gender equality promotion. All of these webinars are available online, and my colleague Sarah will share the links briefly in the chat. And also, if I can ask Sarah to share the link to the knowledge repository as well, so you have directly access to that. Another series of events that we organized as part of the Creative Economy Alliance was a series focusing on diversity in the creative economy. And we had a particular focus on gender equality promotion as part of the creative economy. So there were 3 events in October and November. And it was a great collaboration with different partners who are also present today in this meeting. So the first session focused on the fashion industry and was hosted by ITC She Trades. And in the second session, we looked at how international cooperation can support gender equality promotion. And we had great speakers, and I think Magdalene and Caroline, you're here today as well, which is fantastic to see you. We also have recordings of those sessions, so if you were unable to attend, we will share the links in the chat as well for you to catch up on the discussions we had there. The last installment of this webinar series was held during the S4YE Summit, and I'll hand over to Jamie for the third session.
Thank you, Alison. Alison already briefly introduced myself. I'm Jamie Leclay, and I work for S4YE. Together with Alison, we are coordinating and leading the Creative Economy Alliance. Most probably I've talked to most of you already, but if not, This is me. So as you heard before, the Alliance has already hosted various events in the past year in 2023. And one of the other highlights was the S4IE Summit. In November 2023, S4IE hosted a 2-day summit and focused on the topic of generative AI, so Gen AI. We had thought-provoking sessions on various topics that S4IE works on. We had over 56 speakers from AI experts, government officials, executives, the private sector, World Bank, management even spoke, and youth leaders, and also AI artists. We had more than 1,000 participants globally, and also people attending from over 120 countries. The creative economy session focused really on different artists in the field from different nations. And it was titled From Algorithms to Opportunities, Harnessing Generative AI for Youth Employment. It was a very rich discussion between a fantastic lineup of speakers, and I'll mention them briefly. So we had Malik Ofegwa, a filmmaker. I'm not sure if he's also online with us at the moment. He's also a fashion designer and AR artist from Nigeria. Malik was really trending on social media in September, I think after the summer, posting images of seniors from the African continent looking extremely stylish and fashionable on the runway. We had another speaker, Thomas Haferlach, the founder of Pollinations AI, and he focuses on AI in the music industry. So he creates, together with his team, AI music creation, and provides really like an exciting real-time immersive AI product called the Tech Dream Machine, which I think at that moment he said it will be launched soon. I'm not sure if it has been launched in the meantime. At the beginning of the session, we wanted to also show a video that was generated. He generated a rap music song with all the input from the participants and of the session. Maybe we'll show it at the end. Otherwise, Sarah, my colleague, will share it with you. Additionally, we had Alex Wills. He's a Chief Experience Officer of Disguise, and it's a platform for creatives where technologies create and deliver spectacular visual experiences. He's very much known for like big concerts of U2, Beyonce, and even films like Frozen. And also Fatima from IFC, she's online with us. She will be speaking shortly as well. So I'll leave that to her to delve a little bit more into what IFC does in a bit. Next slide, please. Apart from the exciting knowledge sharing events that the Alliance provides and webinars and summits, we also publish different knowledge pieces. So in the past, as Namita was saying also earlier, S4IE, the global program, has been active in the efforts to identify and curate it and learn from innovative solutions of youth employment in the creative economy. And so we have posted different discussion notes and also blog posts, as you can see. Next slide, please. Prior to the creation of the Alliance, so S4IE already worked on some research pieces. So in 2020, S4IE published the Orange Economy as a driver of job for youth. And this discussion note highlighted how the creative sector could be a potential source of economic opportunities for youth. So this was prior to the Alliance. Next slide, please. And also following this initial report, the S4IE team did a deep dive in 2021 on the potential opportunities in the music industry, more specifically focused on Africa. So the report highlights that access to technology especially enables growth in the music streaming industry and creates new opportunities for young African musicians. The report also looked into LinkedIn data on the music industry skills that are needed and identified the top 10 industry skills listed on user profiles within the music industry globally. and map the skill penetration of the top 20 skills listed on different user profiles in the industry as well. And it also showcased a lot of youth-led innovations in the music industry in Africa. My colleague also, Sarah, will be sharing all these reports with you. So these were the discussion notes really that we published prior to the Alliance. So it was really S4YE led with a little bit of input from other organizations. And then with the Alliance, so next slide, please. So with the launch of the Alliance, many of our partners asked also at the kickoff meeting if we could, provide some joint research pieces and co-create them together. And so we have written 3 discussion notes in collaboration with our diverse partners. So IDB contributed, ITC, UNESCO, British Council, the Co-Creation Hub, the CC Hub, I think they're also present with us today, and IFC. And so we have 3 discussion notes, one that was just recently also shared with all of you, the impact of emerging technologies on the creative industries, and then the new up and coming are focus in the film industry and the fashion industry. So you'll be hearing soon from us. I'm not sure if my colleague Norris is online, but he will be presenting the next part, which is he's a technical specialist within the S4YE team, and he has written the disruptive technology discussion note. Norris, are you with us?
Maybe not, Jamie. We can just skip
Then
that
I'll just,
in the interest of time. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Then I would like to give the floor to Urvashi, which is also a colleague of mine and a technical specialist. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Jamie. Morning, everybody. I'll be briefly taking you over our upcoming analytical work on films and fashion jobs for youth. Starting with some takeaways from our discussion note on opportunities in the film industry. So the film industry generates direct and indirect jobs which spur the economy. It creates jobs in physical infrastructure as well as film-related services like the makeup industry, marketing, advertisements, and in tourism. And there has also been an increase in investments in the industry in recent years through public-private partnership in regions like Latin America. In fact, in 2019, $5.7 billion was invested in audiovisual production in the Latin American region, which generated 1.6 million direct and indirect jobs as per estimates. So clearly, lots of emerging job opportunities within the film industry. We also spotlight IFC's analysis of skill gaps in the Nigerian film industry. We find similar skill gaps across regions and argue that supply-side measures are required to address these gaps. We also identify in the note some industry-wide labor market trends. One, youth employment in the film industry is higher in lower middle income countries than in higher income countries from our study of ILO stat data. In countries like Nigeria and Indonesia, youth constitute almost 1/4 of total employees in the sector, and so are a critical constituent for jobs. 2, digitization and tech advancement have changed the type of skills required in the industry. The advancement of AI's testing abilities previously considered non-replaceable, such as creativity or digital skills, which are skills which are key for writers and film sound engineers. Actors are also increasingly seeking job protections against AI replicas of themselves, which are being used as background actors in movies. 3, as streaming services and digital platforms like TikTok and YouTube continue to grow, film will also continue to expand and be an attractive source of employment for youth who are familiar with such platforms and are more digital savvy. More such findings and data analysis in the note, which will be coming soon. Onto some takeaways from the fashion and jobs note. Next slide, please. So the fashion industry contributed 1.5% to global GDP in 2022. In the textile and clothing segment, this translated into 91 million workers employed globally, of whom 50 million were women. So why we ask, are young people well suited to jobs in the fashion industry? Young people possess 21st century skills like flexibility. They're adept at using digital tools when compared with other age groups in the labor force. And these are all skill sets which are well suited to creative sectors like the fashion industry and film for that matter as well. On labor segmentation, we find that lower middle income countries employ majority of fashion workers in the textile or more manufacturing segments, while higher income countries employ majority of fashion workers in the creative or service segments. There is thus a need to develop higher value added services which generate higher profit margins, such as in design, sales, marketing, in low income countries and lower middle income countries to create better paying jobs for young people entering such jobs. Currently, lower value added activities like manufacturing do not offer career progression or opportunities to increase their wages. We also analyze the impact of emerging trends such as social media and technology on fashion jobs and the increased adoption of circular and sustainable clothing practices, which are changing consumer preferences and paving the way for new kinds of jobs in the industry. These papers will be disseminated in coming months, so please reach out to us if you have any ideas and work projects around these sectors. We'd be happy to speak and potentially collaborate. Over to you, Jamie.
So I wanted to just jump in and say something here as we hand it over now to some of our partners to share what they're doing. Just these two notes that we spoke about on film and fashion. We are almost done, and thanks to a lot of you for contributing and doing the analysis. Now, there's a reason we haven't put it out because we are still, and this goes back to something that Sabine mentioned, we are still trying to dig a little bit deeper, struggling a bit with the data challenge. And we're working very closely, as you know, in the jobs group, there's a lot of effort to do harmonized data, looking at occupation codes, mapping it to the skills, the ISCO codes. And so we are trying to see if we can get a little bit more nuanced in terms of actual numbers and hard data. It's hard. It's really hard because, for example, when you think about fashion, it's so hard to tease apart what happens in the textile industry, which isn't really fashion, right? I mean, there's a slight difference. Because fashion, textile would come under sort of the manufacturing data, whereas when you say fashion, it's something else. Similarly, teasing it apart from the leather industry. If you're making high brand kind of shoes, it's fashion, but if it's shoes, then just leather or whatever, then it's somewhere in manufacturing. So there's a whole, and then the other challenge is to which is where actually the job potential is, which is in the spillover effect. So it's in the people who are doing event management, who are doing marketing of the films. I mean, that's the spillover effect that would be really great to be able to articulate, estimate, and quantify. So we are giving it another go in terms of trying to see if we can do some extra pioneering work on the data side. So, but we're almost there. So we should be sharing these two notes. But if you want to get together a little bit and discuss just the data challenge of these two sectors, for example, we'd be happy to chat a bit more. But yeah, just wanted to share a little bit why we haven't totally disseminated it. But back to you, Jamie. I think we are now handing it over to a few of our partners to share what they're doing. And then we, of course, open it up for discussion. I don't know who's probably going first, maybe our colleagues from ITC, right?
Thank you, Namita. Yes, indeed, we will hand over to the partners now. So we have 4 presentations from partners of the Creative Economy Alliance. We'll start indeed with the International Trade Center, and Raymond Moser will present, followed by the Inter-American Development Bank, Goethe Institute, and the International Finance Corporation. So we have about 5 minutes per presentation, and there's the opportunity also to ask questions, I think 1 or 2 directly to the presenters. So feel free to use the chat if you have any questions. And for the presenters, I will be giving you a signal about 4.5 minutes in, just so you can finish your thoughts and sentences, and then we'll wrap up your presentations if that's fine. And these presentations, they serve us to get to know each other's work and also be an inspiration for the discussion that we have later, where we can connect the dots and see where all of us are working on, which are the topics that we want to engage as part of the Creative Economy Alliance. And many of you have already provided some feedback via the survey, so thank you so much for taking the time and sharing these insights with us. We will share the survey results later and also in the follow-up of this meeting. But without further ado, Raymond, if you are in the call, I'll be handing over the floor to you. And then we can proceed. I'm not sure if Raymond is online. Let me check. Otherwise, we'll head straight to Alejandra. I can't see Raymond online now, so let's start then, Alejandra, with you, with the IDB.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Well, thank you so much. My name is Alejandra Luzardo. I work for the Inter-American Development Bank. And I just wanted to share with you something that come up for the first regional dialogue on the creative industry, where we realized that we have so many challenges, including data, as was mentioned before today, but also the lack of understanding of different ministers that did not deal directly with the creative industry, like economic ministers, and people that deal with entrepreneurship, tourism, education, so on. So we decided to change the narrative. And from now on, our strategy is talking about of multiplying impact of the creative industry on other sectors. So what we did was a pilot. You can go to the next slide. In the south or southeast of Mexico, which is the poorest, more poorest region in Mexico City, Oaxaca, Chiapas, and Yucatan. We decided to, with a methodology that I won't have time to explain today, to create these executive tables to make sure that they understand their own challenges. So every single region define different sector, and we base all this logic in the value chain. For example, Oaxaca and Chiapas focus on artisans, and Yucatan in the film industry. So what was interesting here, you can go to the next slide, please. We have, so you put the methodology. Okay, so you can go to with the methodology. So basically, we have more than 200 people involved in this interaction. Can you click, so you can have all the, exactly. So we have more than 200 people involved, and we have 70 work agreement with this methodology of validation. So we involve the ministers from different sectors to understand what we're trying to do and what was important to understand the challenges when we are trying to do, let's say, commercialization on the artisans. And then we create a lot of showcases, and we go in person after 9 months of work, and create these kind of executive tables where they have the opportunity to share what's the challenging from in any different ministers and private sectors and creators. So there was different people involved in this project. Can you go to the next one, please? But what happened here was very interesting, and I am going to give an example. For in Chiapas, they decided to focus in the artisan, but in the commercialization. And one of the things that they realized when we did all this dynamic is that everything created by the universities or all the courses online that these artisan can have for the commercialization part were not focused on what they need. So artisans say, we need to focus on how to sell our product. I want you to help me how to sell my products. And the university were doing courses that was more related to how to create things. And this disconnection obviously was a lack of understanding and was a lack of opportunity, because they didn't can get to all these artisans they wanted to get. Based on, this is one example of many that we saw in all these discussions, but these things and this methodology allow you to come up with decision very quickly and to continue working. Another example is what happened in Yucatan. Yucatan, they have a lot of people going there and film, but they didn't have any location catalog, no one entry point, everything was dispersed. So some people contact the Minister of Culture, another the tourism, etc., etc. And what happened is, because of this dynamic that we create, now they are focusing in doing an inventory, making sure they have all the offer together, and come up with a location website where people can see what the offer is, etc., etc. So these two things basically are very important, and we have to figure it out how we can go back before we enter into a project that will be isolated and will not be taking the maximum impact that they can do, because there is so much disconnection between all the minister and all the participants actually that work on the creative economy. So I hope this I will have another time to explain the methodology and how us as an institution can work differently to try to find new ways of work together in the field and understanding the real needs of the creators.
Thank you so much, Alejandra. I think it's a really great example of bringing different stakeholders to the table, because it is a challenge when working in creative industries to find the right ministry or to engage all of the ministries to really see how the impact of the creative industries can be leveraged. So I believe many of us are working on the same topic. Thank you so much for sharing. And if anyone has questions for Alejandra right now, feel free to post them in the chat or to raise your hand. If they come to you later, Jamie and I are very happy to facilitate that exchange as well, if you're working on a similar project or you have questions to Alejandra.
Alison, I was also thinking that if, just in case one of our speakers isn't able to make it and we have a bit of time left, then maybe Alejandra, I know we put you under the gun by saying just stick to 5 minutes, but if you wanted to elaborate and share a little bit more on the methodology as you were talking about, and we have that little bit of extra space.
Yeah.
If there's interest, then we can get into a more informal chat.
Everyone is online so far, but if we have time later on in the discussion, let's make a let's find some minutes there as well. There's one question coming in now. What is the size of the portfolio for the creative industries in the Inter-American Development Bank? Alejandra, do you know that?
Yes, basically, we don't have too many operation projects in the creative industry. We focus, I will say, the 2 years before in more research, because the problem that I just mentioned to you is not only in the minister part, it's also at the IDB part. What I mean is they don't understand the impact of this project. So this is why we have to change the narrative and making sure that, let's say, education understand that this project will be an education project with component of the creative economy. We let them to lead from now on, because we are not an operation department, so we cannot do operation per se. So pretty much I would say we have like approximately 9 projects. Some of them are big, some of them are small, but most of the projects are more focused on policies and trying to change this narrative to making sure the people that make decisions understand the impact in the other sectors.
Actually, Alejandra, you know, it's interesting that what we experience as development organizations is mirrored on the part of our client countries, right? It's the lack of coordination. And this is classical, right? I mean, even on the jobs agenda. So I was just thinking, like, if we had to do an operation in the World Bank on something like this, it would involve colleagues from, you know, who are working on tourism, colleagues who are working on digital, perhaps, colleagues who work on education, and colleagues who work in FCI, but directly supporting the private sector. And it's this coordination failure sometimes.
Definitely,
we see among the ministries, right? Even the ministries don't come together on the client side. But anyway, just a thought as you.
I think one caveat that I can share with you about this project is when we decide on creating these core teams for every single state or region in Mexico, we decide no, these tables were not led by culture. And all of them are led by the economic side. Because if they were led by culture, nobody listened, unfortunately. So when they are led by the economic part, they understand, they finally find their space in the creative industry, but the people listen and they have budget. This is the reality.
Yeah.
So this change of narrative, definitely.
Changing the narrative of the creative economy. I think that's a big one, and I think we all can relate to that. There is one more question. I see two hands. Okay, let's go first with Laura and then Caroline. And then I would like to hand over to Raimund Moser from the International Trade Center to proceed with the partner presentations. So Laura, over to you.
Thank you very much. Good day to you all. Thank you for the invitation. I work at UNESCO, actually with Caroline, who will follow with a question. Alejandra, thank you so much. This is really interesting. We work as well a lot in this multi-stakeholder approach on the CCIs in policy development. And we are trying to, as you say, establish interministerial collaboration, which is very hard. So this is really interesting to have your view of changing the narrative and having another ministry actually leading the discussion. One of the challenge we face, I don't know if you've had the same challenge, is a high turnover of staff in ministries and this kind of constant need of training and retraining and rebuilding capacities. So I was wondering how you deal with that. And
the building capacity is so challenging because, for example, in Mexico, they change all these, I will say, all these people that we just finished this project, they will change, some of them will change very soon, and we have to start rebuilding. But the interesting part of this project that I think has to do with your question is, we involve so much the private sector that the demand of having this table will come from the private sector. And that's the change of the narrative itself too. Because if the private sector understand why it's important to have all these people sitting down the table and making sure they understand their challenges, because government are there to help the private sector to grow. And this will also facilitate finding resources to to help the people that are sitting down on the table that probably are new with this project in the future. But definitely it's a challenge.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Alejandra. Caroline, was this also your question? Do you want to come in?
No, thank you. Thank you. Nice to see you all. So I'm Caroline from UNESCO. Very interesting, Alejandra, the presentation. I'm now based in Paris in the convention, on the 2005 convention on the diversity of cultural expressions, but I was based the last 4 years in Central America, working in Central America, where we have seen a lot of IDB loans project, let's say. And I think one of the, just a reflection, as a matter of reflection, perhaps what I had the feeling when I was there that, now with our discussion, that we might need also to define what we mean by creative economy. Because I had the feeling that sometimes even projects led by or financed by IDB were not defined as creative economy. And I'm talking about culture sector. For example, projects in the heritage sector, they were considered as heritage projects, as culture project, but the link with creative economy was not made. And although, of course, if you are going to have a big loan on renovation of an archaeological site, this is to have an impact with the tourism. And this is all creative economy. It's not only about cultural industries. I mean, it's all interlinked. So I think it could be interesting now with this alliance that we have with this platform, to see how we have. So that's my point. I'm very happy that we are all on board on this because we have a lot to do together and to coordinate more.
Yeah, thank you.
I agree.
Thank you for your comment. I hear you very cut, so I don't know if I wanted to answer that. I am more than glad. Yes, you are completely right. you imagine how difficult it is to sell this kind of project when we are talking about heritage, that the component of the creative industry becomes interconnected inside of the country. This is why we change the narrative, because for a specialist that is selling this to the government, it's even complex because they don't understand what is the creative industry. And we realize that even if we make a lot of effort, that's almost impossible to handle. So this is why we decide to go other way around. And we are going to prepare actually the ministers, the people that work in the minister that are the ones are in there, in the cities, in the areas, to understand better. More than defining the creative industry is changing the way they work and making sure they take advantage of what the creative industry can help them to figure it out. I think that connection go beyond the definition, because the definition, we have been discussing this definition for years, and that's not working. So this is what I say, we have to change the way we work. It doesn't matter, I'm sorry, I'm going to say something that probably nobody will like, but this is beyond the definition and the concept. Doesn't matter if we establish the definition, we are going to establish line and separation. Let's start working with them and making sure they say, okay, I am working in a project of heritage. I think I should take the culture here. I should invite culture so they can give me some advice about this. Also, what we notice, unfortunately, is the Minister of Culture, knowing every country, but most of the time, they don't have the knowledge either. So, and this is something that we have to, as an institution, we have to find ways to improve that in the region, because they don't understand, they are very focused on one part of the culture, but they don't understand the culture, in a broad concept of the creative industries. So it sounds challenging, but believe me, some people are not prepared. They don't understand what is the value added, even in the Ministry of Culture.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Alejandra and Caroline, for the contributions. I'm afraid we have to head on to give everyone a chance to present. But I believe the question of employment impact, what it means, how to position the creative industry, is very central to the Creative Economy Alliance. So thank you so much for your reflections. And then I would like to hand over to Raimund Moser from the International Trade Center. Raimund, you have about 5 minutes. I'll give you a sign with my virtual hand when we are almost at the 4-minute mark, so you can finish your thought. Handing over to you.
Thank you so much, Alison, and Happy New Year to everybody. The first time we get together, so good to see so many familiar faces. I'd like to share with you a couple of initiatives that are cooking on our end. And in the run-up to this gathering, we were thinking a bit on our end, what are some of the commonalities that will keep us busy in the creative industries across these different initiatives that we are rolling out this year. And I have 3 that I wanted to share with you. And of course, also in the interest of maybe triggering one or the other reaction, if there are topics that you're working on as well, to see whether there are ways for us to engage on these topics together. So the first one is on intellectual property and protection of IP, trademarks, copyrights, etc. We are just day before yesterday, signed a new framework agreement with Whitehall. I'm not sure if you have colleagues from Whitehall on the call today. I think they were also expressing interest to join the alliance. We wanted to be this year more intentional about IP and the way we engage with different actors that support IP frameworks in our different projects. And so creative industries has become a very important topic in this new partnership framework that we have with Whitehall. And so the way we want to go about this is, on one end, we want to just improve the understanding of the importance of IP for different entrepreneurs and economic actors in the different countries where we operate. So it's awareness raising. Second, it's capacity building, but then it's also on the what are the different ways of how to protect your intellectual property, and then also what are the systems and processes and tools that we can improve on the ground. And on maybe one of the initiatives I would like to share, one way we're going to do this is we work with trade promotion organizations, business chambers, that we will be engaging on a guide, on an IP guide in different countries. So we have already selected Innovation Village in Kampala, Uganda, in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, it's the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, and then we'll have also a partner in Central America, where we will be working with these business support organizations. There are working with entrepreneurs, and we would like to bring them also in country, be more closely to the different IP offices to kind of make that ecosystem talk better or more to each other. So that's one area. In there, we also said we wanted to be a bit more intentional about artificial intelligence in all of this. So this is a bit of a pathfinder for us. So we are embarking more on a learning journey on how we can translate that also in concrete support packages for entrepreneurs that we're working with, and also have a pivot on the indigenous communities in this IP discussion. So, but IP from different levels is something that we would like to do quite a bit more in the different countries. And again, there are, whether it's in West Africa, the Gambia, we work quite a bit, Uganda, Central America. We also starting a new initiative in El Salvador. So this is something that will keep us busy for a while. The second area that we have or will be quite an important priority for us throughout the year is the verticals. I think we spoke about this on the last call already and talked about creative industries, also the vertical with tourism. And we have a number of initiatives where we're going to be also working quite a bit on creating those linkages. So in some initiatives, it will be about tourism as a market for creatives, but also in terms of still building forward tourism industries, using the creative industries and the creative economy for branding, marketing, and attracting more tourists, also different tourists to the different destinations that we're working. So making those linkages and exploring those linkages more explicitly. And then also what are new products and services that we can help develop in the creative economy for the tourism industry to improve the offering, right? So to kind of have more value added services in these different economies. And the last area that I want to highlight for us is on digital. So again, it is a vertical of sorts where we're going to be also working quite a bit with different, in different contexts, creating the linkages to streaming markets, creating the linkages to different also e-commerce platforms, fulfillment centers, and so on in a number of projects and countries that we operate. So these are 3 areas that we will be working quite a bit in. Interesting to have reactions from the group, the areas that you see that there are potential touch points. I also wanted to just end with that to see whether you see possibilities in the group, moments of convergence, whether there are throughout the year events where we could maybe do something together in these areas. We're looking at, from our end, of course, different trade events that we have, Aid for Trade, etc., but also in country events where you see maybe we can do something together within this alliance, within this group, to also work towards in case there is areas of interest. So let me stop there, Alison, and give it back to you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Raymond.
Raymond, just a quick follow-up question on that. So the IP guides that you said, I think that's really, really important. So could you say quickly what your timeline is? And did I hear you correctly that you are going to develop this for different target audiences, which means it sounded to me like the first one would be for policymakers. So how do you design IP frameworks in countries? But is there anything that's pitched directly at like young people who are, producing music, let's say, or fashion? So is it also, it sounds like there is also going to be something pitched to the entrepreneur. And then third, really interesting to the indigenous communities, I thought. But did I get it right?
Yes, you did. I mean, there are different tracks. So one track is working with the institutional ecosystem, so the business support organization, helping them to better understand the importance of IP and the different tools. There is an area of IP financing that we're also quite interested in. We know that IP is at times for entrepreneurs, it's difficult to get the money. And it can cost a lot of, so the business support infrastructure in country can be quite useful to also provide different access to funding or financing or support it. And then, I mean, this is a bit further down the road, but also using, you know, copyrights potentially as collateral for accessing financing for ventures to grow and scale. So this, I think it's new in many markets, but that's an area that we're quite interested in as well. We do want to work quite a bit with influencers also to bring the topic of IP closer to youth, to better understand, make it more tangible, make it, you know, more popularize it. It often, you know, is quite, I mean, it is technical, of course, but it is important also for different entrepreneurs, different stages of their entrepreneurial journey to understand how they can use IP at this different stages, and what are the tools available. So there will be, if you wish, a client-facing, entrepreneur-facing aspect with a very strong focus on youth and women.
Thank you so much, Raymond. I'm not sure if you see it in the chat. There's a huge response and interest on that topic. So I think if you have already studies or information leaflets on that topic, on what you're working, readily available, I'm very happy to share that with the group. And there are questions on how to collaborate with you, and whether also other organizations are interested in the topic. And from the survey results, I can say they are. So I would like to hold that thought for the discussion after the presentations, because we did identify it as one of the key topics that there was an interest expressed for. So to give also the other two organizations the time to present, I would love to hand over to Caroline Christgau from the Goethe Institute. And same as for the other speakers, Caroline, I will give you a signal about 4.5 minutes in.
Thank you so much, Alison. So first of all, hello, everyone. It's the first time I'm actually joining the partner meeting, CEA, and it's a pleasure to be here and also present of what the Goethe Institute is doing, has been doing, and is looking forward to do. So we can go to the first information slide. So just to say again, I'm the head of culture here at the regional office in Johannesburg for the region Sub-Saharan Africa. So we have different approaches of working generally in the cultural sector, but also with focus on culture and creative industries. I think the Goethe Institute is a lot known for really working on a very programmatic angle for many years, and the CCIs have really entered or has really become also one of our focal topics and points of interest since quite some years. So we do have a focus on networking and internationalizations, and through different ways. So we always have put an effort on mobility for artists, leaders of organizations, other stakeholders through travel grants, establishing resources and online platforms. Many know Music in Africa. It has been a project.
Caroline, sorry, we can't hear just now. Let me, maybe can you activate your microphone again? Yes, I think we should be
I didn't
able to hear
unmute,
you.
sorry. Maybe it was the small button here that pressed. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So I adopted resources and online platforms, but also co-organizing and participating in international festivals, industries fairs, supporting them, just create opportunities for creatives, for stakeholders, and representative practitioners to really meet, exchange, be in dialogue, and also support partnerships. Qualification is definitely a big topic, especially when it's coming to the CCIs. So we, with local partners, we establish training programs that can profit also different stakeholders from the cultural sectors. We run workshops, smaller formats, masterclasses, supporting internships, and also run residency programs. Infrastructure, it's not that we always can highly support implementing infrastructures, but seeing what we can do in-house, what infrastructure we can open to practitioners. Here in South Africa, we had a hub, which was actually also located at a library with a program for young creatives for several years, but also how can we support existing incubators and hubs that are around us, and really then work in partnership with them. And yeah, give open spaces. And we also do have, when it's coming to qualification infrastructure, it's a bit in between of running competitions and grants. So the next slide, please, Alison, thank you. And I think, especially now in Sub-Sahara Africa, but not only, because it was also with the Middle East project. The biggest project I think we had so far here in the CCI was the global project, together with the GIZ. Unfortunately, it ended last year. We had our participating countries, Iraq, Jordan, Lebanon, Kenya, Senegal, South Africa, and the main focus was on improving employment and income opportunities for creatives, and mostly through trainings, but also networking possibilities. We had resilience grants, and this was our focus. Same as for the GIZ, we had same focus points, sectors we have been working in. And one example that has, from our work, definitely stood out was also the Drone Divas project, where we had a focus on training women in developing, coding, flying drones, and really establish themselves within this industry that's very male dominated. Last slide. And this is something to look out for. Oh, probably I sent the one with the 3 projects. Normally it was only the 2. So we are one of 29 founding members of the EIT Culture and Creativity, and are involved in strategizing and seeing how CCIs can be further developed and strengthened. We are in discussions, development of the Museum Cooperation project, also together with the French Institute. It's just starting off, so the exact shaping is just happening now. One of my colleagues could say more to this, but this is really of strengthening a museum network within Sub-Saharan Africa, and also qualifications. And then the Sound Connects funds, a bigger project funded by the by EU ACP. It's going to run until April this year, and we still have some publications coming out, and also good practices on the 30 grants that we have been handing out to different organizations, creative organizations in 9 of the SADC countries, and also publication on cultural policies, legal and regulatory frameworks in the CCIs in the SADC region is in process and soon going to be published. I think I should have managed in the 5 minutes.
Yes,
Thank you
so
very
much.
much.
Thanks so much, Caroline. And I just had a look at the chat as well. So I think the conversation is still evolving around the IP right as well. But if anyone has a question for Caroline and the projects that the Goethe Institute was implementing, feel free to use the chat or raise your hand. And to say that, unfortunately, indeed, the collaboration with the Goethe Institute for this project ended, but the global project is still running from GIZ side, just to make that note as well. Okay, I can't see any questions at the moment. If they're coming in during the next presentation, happy to facilitate that exchange. Right, there's just a comment coming in. All right, wonderful. We will collect all of the comments from the chat as well and have a look through them, so all of your remarks won't be lost. With that, I would love to hand over to the next presentation from the International Finance Corporation, held by Fatima Javed. You're there, wonderful. Handing over to you, I'll give you a sign as well, about 4.5 minutes in.
Thank you. Thanks, Alison. Thanks, everyone. Hi, everyone. My name is Fatima Javed. I'm the media sector lead for IFC, part of the Global Telecoms Media and Technology team. So as you know, IFC is part of the World Bank Group. We operate under the same umbrella. IFC invests in private sector projects across the emerging markets. Creative industries is relatively new for us compared to all the other sectors that we've been doing. We mainly do, just to give you a sense of what we do as IFC, we have 4 industry departments. We have infrastructure, which is, your core infrastructure like power, utilities, roads, transport, and along with that is telecoms and digital infrastructure. So that's all one industry. The second one is manufacturing, agriculture, and services. And the third one is financial institutions. There's a fourth industry, which is VC and funds department. So that's how IFC is structured. Creative industries is a cross-sectoral, cross-industry-wide initiative that we started about 18 months ago with a push from our CEO. And the way sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. If everyone can keep the microphones muted, I think otherwise there's some background noise, but please continue, Fatima.
So creative industries is a cross. Sorry, I can hear myself. Everybody needs to be muted. Sorry.
I'll have a quick look. I think it should be working now, Fatima. Please continue.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. So as I was saying, creative industries is a cross-sector initiative that we started about 18 months ago with a push from our CEO, who is very interested in IFC supporting creative industries, and why not? It has a huge development impact, as our other participants also mentioned. So the way we're looking at the universe is we've split it into verticals that are according to our standard industry. So audiovisual media falls in TMT. We have fashion, and then we have, which is done by the manufacturing, agriculture, and services sector, and then creator economy and disruptive tech is the third vertical. So audiovisual media is all of your content production, distribution, your films, episodics, music, all is supporting infrastructure that goes beyond it. And the other, the other sub-vertical within the audiovisual media, which we are also very excited about, is creative digital technologies, or CreaTech as we put it, which includes the use of technology in creative industries, like visual effects and animation and other virtual reality. So all of this is housed under the media sector. Then we have fashion. Fashion is, like Namita was explaining earlier, is part of manufacturing. But if there's a core design component to it, then we categorize it under fashion. So, all of your apparel, footwear, marketplaces as well, jewelry, and other verticals within fashion. The third one is creator economy and disruptive tech. This is, you can think of it as different platforms that help creatives monetize and push out their content. Think of it as an Instagram or a TikTok. So IFC has a tech division, which is your CDF. So, very early stage to growth stage tech companies. So any company that is creative in this, in the tech world, falls under our creator economy and disruptive tech platform. The fourth
Fatima, I'm so sorry. We're at the end of the 5 minutes. Perhaps you can choose 2, 3 key messages from the next slides that you want to share in this room.
Sure. I would just like to say that IFC offers a full spectrum of services. We start from advisory up to investment. Because of our proximity to governments, we can help on regulatory reforms. On the upstream side, we are helping creating markets and supporting early stage project development. And then finally, investment, we can offer products such as debt, equity, anything in between, and we can also mobilize funding. Next slide. So IFC has done a lot in the last year. We have committed more than 300+ million own account, and we have mobilized more than 500 million in the creative economy, in the creative industry sector. Most of our investments are in the media and fashion sector. We've also supported 2 companies in the creator economy where we've invested in a platform in Africa and a platform in India with equity investments. We can always share these investments with you later if you have any questions. Priorities going forward, like I was explaining, and that's why I took more time on the first slide, is because I just wanted to highlight some challenges and how we work. So we noticed that, and this has been a point of discussion before in the meetings earlier and today as well, the ecosystems in the emerging markets are not very well developed. So finding bankable opportunities, which is what IFC does, is rather challenging. So IFC wants to come in right from the start to help support the ecosystem, create markets, and take those projects or companies to a bankable stage where IFC can provide actual funding. The IFC, being part of the World Bank Group, again, focuses a lot on development impact. So our core focus through our investments is to create more job opportunities, to upskill, and capacity building. So that's pretty much it. I'm available if you have any questions on our investment criteria or all the services that we provide.
Thank you so much, Fatima, for the very extensive overview, and I think also very relevant parts where we're delving in. Also, I know that the ecosystem development is central to many of our partners. So there's already expressed interest to connect with you, Fatima, in the chat with British Council. So do seek an exchange there. Are there any other questions that you would like to raise directly? Not at the moment. I'm sure that they will come up in the following discussion. So I will head over to the final part of today's meeting. And this is the part where we all get active and excited about the discussion. I will hand over to Namita briefly. So this is the part where we are looking at core topics that unite us within the Creative Economy Alliance and that we would like to work on. Jamie and I have looked at the presentations and at the survey results, and we made 2 example suggestions that we can imagine to be a topic to be discussed, but this is also the chance to come in, share your thoughts, raise your questions, and shape the agenda for 2024. So our main questions to you are, what is your organization working on that is relevant for the Creative Economy Alliance, and how can you engage and collaborate with the Creative Economy Alliance on these topics? And 2 of the topics that were raised here as well, I just wanted to highlight as an example, is the support of the intellectual property and trade within the creative economy. This topic was raised, for example, by UNCTAD, ITC. WIPO was mentioned as a potential partner. I know also that some of the other participants, like Trish Downing, was interested in exploring that topic further. So is this a moment to create a working group on this particular topic? Perhaps you can find some interest expressed in this room. And the second part that we found was emerging from the survey results was also the emphasis on impact and impact of digitalization on jobs through emerging technologies in the creative economy. So a few partners have expressed interest in that topic. So feel free to present what you're working on, what you would like to see on the agenda, or where you would like to collaborate on. Handing over to Namita for the discussion, and I see already there are some hands raised. So handing over to you, Namita.
Yeah, I mean, this is the part where we want to hear, right? I mean, there are 2 ways of thinking about this. One might be, I mean, when we get together just internally, one of the things is, okay, what is it that we want to push? Or where do we want to grow? Where do we want to sort of push the frontier in terms of how much we know? But the other way of thinking about it is, what are all of you engaged in already, or you plan to push the frontier in your irrespective organizations, and we join you to support you, or that's another way of looking at it. And sometimes there'll be these common threads where there are a number of organizations interested in a particular topic, but coming at it from a slightly different angle. That might be another way to look at it. And we were brainstorming about how, because I think it shouldn't be just led by our team or GIZ or anybody, right? I mean, one of you could volunteer to take the lead in leading the working group, and we would support and we would absolutely facilitate. So some ideas we had were, and maybe there's a slide there, I don't know, Alison, just kind of, we were just throwing out some ideas just to trigger some thoughts, because then I'm going to shut up and I just want to listen. One might be for some of you, so it could be like low intensity kind of an involvement on your side, because you've got a whole other job. This is just something that you are doing because you're interested in this agenda. And then the other might be more a leadership role. It's a platform for all of us, right? So one might be, you could say, oh, just keep me informed. I'll come to these regular meetings, and we plan to do at least 4 in a year, at least 4 times that we come together like this. But again, if you have a different thought on this, we are happy to, like, please tell us, is 4 is not enough or 4 is too much. The other might be that you could say, okay, I will partner up with you. Let's publish and sort of do a bit of research on this particular country, this sector that I'm interested in. So it might be more on the research side and the analytical side. You could say, I'm interested if you create a working group, like we saw those 2 other ideas, that the role of technology, MasterCard Foundation, UNESCO, saying that they want to be part of that. And we heard from Fatima, IFC also interested in that topic. So potentially we could think of a smaller working group that kind of develop something. It need not just be research. It could be a toolkit. It could be, or some of you might suggest, okay, no, we could actually take a leadership role, or we could host in our organization a get together or a particular event or a knowledge sharing activity, etc. So we just put these ideas out there, but this is not comprehensive. Maybe some of you have other suggestions. So I'll keep quiet now. Over to you. And please just raise your hand, jump in, and maybe we can take the slides off. Yeah.
Yes, I think first one to raise the hand was Marisa Henderson from UNCTAD. Do you want to come in?
Thank you very much. And first of all, I wanted to thank you for this opportunity. By listening to you, we realize how much UNCTAD has been involved in the activities of the Alliance. Just to name a few, we were very honored to participate in the kickoff. We are also happy to have provided inputs for the repertory. We also participated in the GIZ jobs webinars. They were really, really good on creative economy. It was very intensive. IFC, we did a blog with them on creative economy in Latin America. And with SACO and Goethe Institute and GIZ, we did participated at the 3rd World Conference on Creative Economy, the 4th Conference on Creative Economy in South Africa. I think there is a publication that is on their way. So we do value this alliance. All these exercises have been very, very successful and have a lot of traction. And I think it's obviously, we are working together, even though there isn't a particular institutional strong document that says that. So I would like to mention, for 2024, I would like to mention 3 things that I think the Alliance might want to be involved in. First of all, we are organizing an expert meeting in July this year on creative economy and services. And I saw that during the presentations that particularly the first one of the presentations that were saying how important it is for services for developing countries and to engage them on the services bit. So we member states need to give us the exact date, and I will communicate this because we could do one of the panels actually could be with all the members of the Alliance as speakers, or with some members of the Alliance as speakers, to share their experiences on services and creative industries on particular issues. So that's one thing to remember for this year, 2024. Another thing is that during that expert meeting, we are going to present the joint work on the measurement of creative economy that has been done at the level of the UN. This includes UNESCO. So this is another subject that will look at an improved framework on creative economy. So you might want to participate. Some of you might want to participate on that. And I'm thinking in UNESCO, given that we work so closely with them on this issue. And I completely agree with Alejandra. IDB, we also work with them on this issue. We need to go beyond the definition. But if our colleague who is based in Paris and talked about the definition wants to know, the Creative Economy Outlook 2022 has a whole section dedicated on the definitions and shows the great volume of literature on that area that has been carried out for the last 20, 25 years. So I agree we may need to go beyond the definition and maybe go into more. I finish now. Yes.
Yeah, just because we have 10 minutes, I want to give as many people an opportunity to share. And so if you,
But I think you will be interested in this next one. The UN General Assembly has just approved a resolution on creative economy, and we have to report on this in 2026. So I will share with you the link to the resolution. This is something that all members of the Alliance will be interested. It's not culture, it's creative economy for development. So I'm finishing there. Thank you.
Thank you, Marissa. And again, maybe people who haven't spoken till now, just perhaps to jump in because, just want to get as much input. Junie?
So much, Namita, and everyone here. I'm a bit of a latecomer to this alliance. I'm just amazed by the energy and so much has already been done. So I'm just a bit of an introduction that I belong to this Finance Competitiveness and Innovation Global Practice Group at the World Bank. And we are already having about 10 country pilots on landing projects on creative economy related requests coming from the region directly. And a lot of them are some traditional interventions on the physical side of the economy, like fashion, like culture, tourism team. But a lot more is also coming from the digital creative industry side, the music, the video, the filming. So what our next stage of key outputs and maybe also seeking collaboration with you based on these country pilots result is that first, it's the impact of platformization for certain creative product line, especially in film and music industry. So we have this Korea case study as well as the Philippines operations that center around the entering of international big tech platform like Netflix, whether it crushes the local ecosystem because they're going to be in neck-to-neck competition with the local producer house or studios. So we're trying to understand a bit of these kind of dynamics. Where are the opportunities and where are some of the private sector development and job implications of it? And then the specific interventions and regulatory issues, especially on the competition side, that we will work on in our lending operations. So that's the first one. And the second one is a bit more on the IP, I wouldn't say protection, but at this stage, more of IP monetization and financing, which we have a joint collaboration with WIPO. I just didn't realize that you guys are also talking about it. So this collaboration, we started it about last year. So mainly, they also hosted WIPO, I think late last year, also hosted this huge IP financing forum with a focus on creative economy. So what we are doing with them is a bit more humble in the sense that we try to understand a bit more on the developing country side, that given most of the IP creation is still facing a lot of trouble in access to finance because a lot of these IP are intangibles and without assets. So, which means it's essentially they're being shut out from the capital market. And it's very hard for us, even as IFC or World Bank Group, to see the scale at the stage of a bankable project because of the lack of collateral, lack of cash flows, etc. So we are also seeing some of the interventions in the capital market development as well as innovation fund side to see how we can put some seed financing, but more systematically how to ensure that IP can be part of the valuation mechanism of a firm in access to finance. And we are partnering with our Korean government because they're the first one who systematically give out not just grants, but capital market or commercial-based financing to IP-based firms. So we are doing those kind of collaboration with them and hopefully exchange technical assistance and knowledge in terms of South-South dialogue. So in general, very happy to be here and thank you again, Namita, and feel free to reach out if there are any collaboration opportunities. Thank you.
You know, one thing that just struck me and Jamie and Alison that we should do is following up from this to get a little bit more detail on the countries. So Junie mentioned 10 countries, and I heard Raymond talk about specific countries with the IP work. Then I heard Marissa talk about some events with dates. So I think some of that maybe we can just summarize because I think that's where we might see collaboration opportunities on ground. So if it's a specific country, and we can then link it up also, Junie, with the operations that you're interested in. Caroline, you have your hand raised.
Thank you. Yes, indeed, I wanted to put to your consideration or a piece of information which is quite new and where we might call upon you to work with us, which is that this year UNESCO would like to organize a big conference, international conference toward the end of this year about AI, artificial intelligence, let's say more from the artistic perspective, but the idea is to have not only a conference as this, but just to launch a coalition, a big coalition. And we would like to see how we can engage during all this year from now on with partners. And this platform is for us is very important for that, how we could engage together to create this coalition about AI in the artistic area. So this is all fresh news, very new. We are just starting the thinking and how we'll go about it. But this seems to be a priority for our Director General. So we wanted to share this information with you today, and as a concrete initiative that we could lead together this year. And we will come back to you, of course, in the next week with more information about that.
That would be great. Just if we know dates and a little bit more information, we'll make sure people are informed, and I'm sure there'll be lots of people interested in the connection with AI. Pratik, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, thanks, Namita. Am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can't see you.
Yeah, because I'm en route. It's
Okay,
difficult for me to switch on the camera.
That's
I'm
okay.
so sorry. Yeah, but it's wonderful to be a part of this alliance and, to be a part of this dialogue. I think it's really, really important, particularly coming from India, where the discussion on creative economy is new. There's very little work that has been done on creative economy. In 2022, we did a paper in partnership with ADB Institute, which is available online. I've also posted a link in the chat box, which basically provides the first reliable estimates on India's creative economy. And since then, there's been very little work that has been done. And then even though, there's a huge potential that India's creative economy holds, so much so that the government of India during India's G20 presidency thought of putting creative economy as one of the priority areas. And I can say that because I've closely worked with the Ministry of Culture on that.
Pratik, if you have a specific suggestion on what this group could do, could you just summarize it quickly? We are totally on the dot now. I want to close and I want to give quickly Morris a chance to come in and say literally in 10 seconds. Yeah.
Sure. So sorry. So basically what I wanted to come to was that, earlier in this meeting, someone was pointing to the caveat that it's Ministry of Culture. So since this particular issue is being led by Ministry of Culture in most countries, that is the issue, and which is a non-economic ministry. That is one issue why this particular sector has not received the importance that it deserves. But I think that's not really the case, because particularly talking from India's point of view, the health sector, digital sector, and all these sectors are non-economic sectors. And I think that is where these methodologies would really help. And and forums like these, where you discuss methodologies and all these and the ways you really define these creative economy, would really be helpful. So I think that's...
Okay, I do have to interrupt you. Sorry, Pratik. We got the point. I guess we had discussed that already, the importance of changing the narrative, classification, measurement, and articulating the economic impact. I just want to say a big thank you to all of you for joining. I'm sorry to close it abruptly. We are all getting on to different meetings at the top of the hour. I really apologize for that. But this was fantastic. Now it's on us. What we're going to do is we're going to pull this together. And if you just mention the sort of the tip of the iceberg in your remarks, and you can share a little bit more detail, we'll be able to stitch something together and find sort of a workable work program for next year. But let us know even offline if you have any further suggestions. And I'm sorry, Morris, I couldn't get to you in time. But big thank you to you all for spending your time with us and sharing all the wonderful work that you're doing. Thank you, and we'll be in touch.
Indeed, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And please don't forget to fill out our survey if you haven't yet.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.